okay, but I believe that the temple is the bigger one outside, and I can, I take in the good air, and that good air is the breath of God, And when I hear the birds out there, especially this time of the year, and the good smells from the honeysuckle that's coming out there, and even if it's the garlic mustard plants, this is, wow, this is God coming at me in very subtle ways, in mystical ways, that give me a good, clean reminder that I am just a little firefly, that's walking under the sun or under the moon. So it's a humbling experience. It's great. And I never was a sucker for shopping. I get bamboozled when I go in and if I have to buy something. And there's many choices. I said, why can't there be one kind of pair of shoes? That suits everybody. And that, I think, North America is very stuck on. It's like a shopping culture, And we've lost touch with nature, And what is nature? Well, I mentioned to you some of the good angles of what there's the aesthetics of nature, there's the beauty behind it. There's also the other side, there's the dualities. There are ticks. One clung on to me the other day. It's one of the reasons as monks we take at least 2 showers a day. So you can, wash off the ticks that come on you. This is a dhoti, right? And I was walking through the West Virginia forest once, and I took out my dhoti. It was time to take a shower. I says, oh, what are those black spots there? I look a little closer. Well, those are not ink marks. Those are ticks. And if they're deer ticks, maybe. Anyways, there's a lot to be concerned about in the material world. This is addressed by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He's talking about happiness, distress. And he puts it this way. He says there's winter and summer seasons. It's like the happiness that comes to you. And then the challenges, the sadness. So you lost someone who's dear to you. They passed away. Whatever it is. There is fame, there's infamy. There's people who praise you, say nice things about you. And I think there's probably not enough of that happens in the world. Not enough people say good things about what you're doing. And then there's those who are, we're very good at doing infamy, doing character assassination, the lethal weapon, gossip. We're very good at those kind of things. And each and every one of us is a target. And we can say, well, it's my karma, isn't it? I probably riled up a story about someone else, an untruth that I wanted everyone to believe to be the truth. And even if we've got something that we view on someone that's maybe not so much on the positive side, it's always good to concentrate on the positive. What the Shastras say, or the ancient texts, they say, the moon has lots of dark spots on it, but still it is the moon. And it gives so much illumination. Even though it's dark, it gives a coolness in the night. It lights up the night, especially in a full moon. So while we all have, let's say, negativity in our character, it's easy to spot someone else's tick, if I can use that term. But you got to spend a little more time looking in the mirror, And when we look in the mirror, there's 2 things we should realize, when we look in the mirror. Number 1, look in the mirror and say, that is not me. That physical image is not me. I'm the spirited. Number 2, read your personality. You've got a few things that you have to work on. There's some anomalies. There's some negative traits that you have to work on. And I found that the best way to view your own, to have a good look inside, good inventory, is to say, I've got a mountain of problems. I've got a Mount Everest, and everyone else has got Moundsville. And I've got the mountain, everyone's got a little anthill. And I just found that's the best thing to look at, best way to look at people. So it's an old practice amongst ascetics and amongst the travel. And I do get the kind-hearted people that pull over, even truckers, they pull over their whole operation just to offer a ride. There's this place in central Canada that's called Saskatchewan, and it's so flat, the truckers are a little bit bored, and they just want to talk to somebody. So they pull over. So there's two reasons why they do it. They want to pull over and have a conversation. Just, I'm doing this run every day. I found somebody interesting. Someone's wearing a dress. Maybe I can talk to him. And then there's the other thing about certain hospitality that's on the road. Well, if you're kind of out in the middle of the prairie, it's almost like being in a desert. A person might be stranded. His car is dysfunctional. Maybe I'll pick him up and give him a ride. Do him a favor, like that. You do the Good Samaritan thing. And so you see the goodness comes out. Going out there means, let's say, people have an opportunity to do seva or service to someone else. Everyday people pull over for that reason. And I'll tell them, well, I'm a monk, and I'm walking across the nation, and this is the kind of thing we do. So you mean, and sometimes you almost feel bad to say it because, so I can't give you a ride. No, I can't cheat, Oh, okay, all right. Okay. Oh. I remember one time in Saskatchewan, it was kind of a miserable day. The wind was blowing kind of hard. It was overcast, kind of on the cool side. And I had an umbrella on because the rain was coming down to some degree. And I wasn't sure, one trucker pulled over and he offered to ride. I said, I'm sort of not taking any rides. I'm doing this walk across Canada. And then he took off, and another one pulled in right out behind him as the other one was veering off. So there's the kindness that is generated from people. So then I had to say the same line. And then when the third one did this, I thought, what is it about these guys? Do they think I'm a female? I got a dress on, and I'm a damsel in distress? Because they can't see my top, my bald head. They can just see the lower part, and maybe, I don't know, maybe they're onto something. I don't know. But I don't think it was that. I just think people are good-hearted. And then there was a female trucker. Okay, come on in. I said, I gave the same line. No, I'm a monk and I'm walking across. So I can't give you a ride? Oh, okay. But there is that kind of hospitality along the way, and we're grateful when people like Nancy come and do some reporting. Then people know what's going on. When I was walking last fall, it was the deer hunting season, and we did go through some back roads where the guys are out there driving in their pickups real slow to see what they can catch, and then they see me like this, and I guess I look like a little bit of a square cake to them, and they kind of ignore me. They don't know what to make. Is that me moving my body too much?
No.
Okay. And but once we get in the local paper, a front page, suddenly all the deer hunters, oh, you're the guy in the paper. Can I get my picture taken with you? Suddenly you're a celeb, just because you pass through the channel of approval, Yeah, it's amazing what it is, how people are. So a great favor is done when the reporting is done. And that's part of the reason why we're out there. We just want to remind people that there is a spiritual component of life that you must tap into. That's our human right as a human being. Our Guru Srila Prabhupada pointed out many times, he said, animals, they eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Okay, that's very good. Humans also eat, sleep, mate, and defend. But what else? Well, we're very good at killing. We're very good at creating a lot of garbage, making a mess of everything. We're very good. But then there's the other side, the other extreme, where we're also prone to dig deep, to go inside, and explore the real self, to go into what's called self-realization. To be a little analytical and say, hey, I can see that I'm twitching my finger here. I say my finger. I mean, as if the possessor, I. Who's the I then? Prabhupada used to do it. So if everyone can point to their head. Can we do that little exercise? Point to your chin. Okay? Point to the tip of your nose. Point to your left ear. Point to your right knee. How about the big left toe? Okay? Point to your navel. Oh, God, we're getting too personal now. Okay, and point to yourself. Point to yourself. Ananta, you got it down, right? Point to yourself. Do you know where yourself is? Okay, he's thinking about it. So the self is an engine, and it's an engine that does not break down. It's a spark of life. It has the power of thousands of suns, like light power. It cannot be cut by any kind of knife or sword. It cannot be dried up by the sun or the wind. It cannot be burned by fire. It can't be drowned by, tossing into the ocean. It's indestructible. And that's the self, that's the soul, which gives meaning to the whole body. Meaning to the whole body. And that's the beginning of self-realization. I remember the first time I walked across Canada in '96, we got on the front page of one paper, and I, every time you give a little bit of a different line to the journalist. I said, I'm here to tell people about the big lie. What's the big lie? The big lie is that people are telling you that you are the body. That's a misidentification. It's an identity crisis. And it's great to say, I am the body, when you're 21 years old. And for the guys, it's like this. And for the girls, it's like this. You have to take a side view, right? Okay? That's great. But 10 years from there, 20 years later on, 30 years, time lapses. I don't know if I'm the body. I wish I wasn't. Maybe I'm something else. One thing was when all the physical beauty starts to diminish, then there's another beauty that sort of becomes awakened, and that is experience, and revelations and epiphanies. And when people start to see little miracles that happen, and that science can't explain, the little mystical things that happen in the course of the day, that maybe you want to jot down, at least mentally, hey, this happened and this happened and this happened. I can't see it's coincidence. I can't, or maybe it is, but that's just a fancy word. Maybe it's something else, Or you have a deja vu. I don't know, it seemed like I've been here before. Maybe it is something else. Maybe you were here before. Maybe you were in that spot before, in another incarnation. Oh, people are starting to see. One of our good, companions, we call them God brothers, I guess in modern day terms, God bros. Bhaktimarga Swami. He was saying he was on the British Airways, and one of the flight attendants said, well, I don't think I want to be a cockroach in my next life. So that kind of parlance was what we used to say 40 years ago. Now everybody's saying it. Meaning, I was there before, or I may be in that position before. It would seem that maybe it's a kind of a punishment to go into a lower form of life where not everyone appreciates you too much except for your mate. So we have to just get down to terms with, as a human being, we have a right to give some time and engage ourselves in spiritual activities, things that bring out the best in us. And the best in us is that thing, if I can use that word, entity. George Harrison used to say, entity. It's an entity. We are an entity that never we always were, and we are an entity that always will be, and that we are now. And now is the most important part of the three phases of time, because it's what you do now that's important, that will have impact on the future. Right? And in terms of the now, I'll tell you one journalist I met. This is when the first time I was just finishing my walk across Canada, and somebody from the CBC came. That's Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. If the CBC comes to you, it's like hitting the big times. So this woman came with a tape recorder. Do you remember those things? Tape recorder? Ancient devices. And she was interviewing me, and she says, okay, the standard, questions came out. Okay, when did you start the walk, and what's it for? And how many pairs of shoes have you worn? Hesitate. I tell them 4. And so on and so on. I said, okay, now that you've almost completed your walk here you are on the East Coast, what was the most amazing thing that you can remember on your walk? What was the highlight? What was the zenith moment? That was her question. And when she asked this, I was kind of stunned. Okay, was it the bear that I encountered? Was it the attack by the wasps that hit my backside when I was dealing with the call of nature? I'm just graphic. Sorry. What was it? And I couldn't come up with an answer. And then it dawned on me, well, the greatest thing that happened on this walk is I'm standing here and you're standing there and you're asking me this question. And I think that's and I'm trying to come up with an answer. I think that's the greatest thing that ever happened. And so immediately she picked up on it. She said, oh, I know what you're saying, like living for the moment, So do address the present, and do good with the present so that the future will be better, And then what do we do with the past? Well, we have to admit that I am who I am now because of the past. I made decisions in the past which have now formed my present, And what I do now will form the future. So, we have to really play with these three phases of time, but I believe you have to spend a good amount of time in the present. If your head is too much in the future, you're definitely futuristic. You're definitely in what we call mode of passion. Maybe you need to slow down and put your feet on the ground a little bit. Maybe you're a little bit too much dreaming. It's good to have one dream. Don't be too dreamy. And then if you spend a little bit too much time in the past, maybe you're lamenting a little bit too much. Sometimes we think about past issues that were kind of, let's say, endearing to the heart. Oh, they were good times. I don't know. I think you have to, when you're walking, you can analyze your mind a little. You have a lot of time for that. Am I spending most of my time in the present, most of my time in the past, or in the future? Or is it a nice balance, But definitely you have to take in what's right there for you, And that's really important. And that we call, in the mode of goodness, sattva good. The ancient texts, they talk about 3 modes, 3 ways of being. One is to be sattvic, to be thoughtful, to be very much in the present. Then there's the rajas. Rajas means that when you're a little bit much of a dreamer, you're moving a little too fast, more than, just like I personally believe that the automobile culture is very rajasic, and we're moving faster than we need to go. You can't smell the honeysuckle in a car, right? And while it's obviously there when you're walking. And definitely, it's called tamagun when you're living too much in the past and lamenting and you become a very non-productive entity. No doubt we need to, just to be grateful, you have to think about whether it's parents or what people have done for you, what your boss did for you, like, I'm getting personal, yes? And yeah, we have to touch all those three. We say that when you're sleeping, you're kind of not with everything. You're not so conscious. But yet the sleep is necessary in order to be able to function the next day. Isn't that right, Mahalakshmi? If you have a hard day at work, say, oh God, I need to sleep. And I've been told by the spiritual master that sleep is ignorance, but I kind of like ignorance at the moment right now. To bear children, that's called rajas. That's called passion, and it's necessary for us to exist as a species. We need to, have children. And boy, what would it be like if there were no children? Can you imagine what it'd be like? Children give us life, hope. They're at an entertainment center, all of them on their own. They give us service to do. Everything from changing the diapers to feeding to putting. You have to be the charger and the discharger when it comes to babies. So they give us a purpose. So these three modes of ways of being are all essential. But then we also have to spend some amount of time on something that's a little bit beyond these modes, and that's the spiritual practice, exercise called sadhana. And the best way to do that is to do it in the form of chanting, mantra meditation. But anyways, I hope that we took you on the road a little bit, and there are moments where it is tough. I've kind of watched myself. I sometimes think about the past and how maybe I was hurt by somebody. And you know what happens at that time? I pick up my pace, I think, well, maybe this is not so bad after all. I wanted to walk a little faster. Like when you get a little angry, you move faster. I remember one of my support guys, he came and he had the radio on, and it was James Brown playing, I feel good, da, 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 that I would. So when it was playing, I picked up my pace too, and I thought, well, that Mode of Passion song is doing some good for me right now. Yeah, so anyways, I think that some or other we have to see the component of God in all the things that we do, and try to bring out the best. But does anybody have any questions or anything that comes to mind? Or I hope I inspired you to do some cross-country walking. Cross-state walking? How about Washington, D.C.? That's a small state, right? You can do that in a day.
4.5 hours to drive.
To get there.
Close to D.C. 4.5.
Okay.
From Pittsburgh,
Right.
I don't know how many hours I would be walking.
That's a little more.
Yeah, a little more.
A little more. When people, I always think in terms of how many days or weeks it takes to walk to a place, and people think in terms of flying or driving. But I if I can boast, I feel that it's more realistic to do the walking. That's the way we're supposed to be moving. And one expert in the area of movement, he said, we should not be moving faster than that of being on the back of a donkey. Because even if you fall off, you probably won't get hurt. A horse, yes. A car, yes, if you're thrown out of a car. But we're talking about doing things safe. And one thing I realized when I was quite young, said, after seeing an accident with, unfortunately, bodies strewn all over and auto parts, I said, if people walk, they don't have head-on collisions like that. It's not fatalistic like that. It's just, 1.25 million people on the planet die from auto casualties every year. That's a big number. What's the size of Pittsburgh?
I think it's about 1 million people.
Million, and then the surrounding.
That's all right. Yeah. The whole area.
Yeah. That's a big chunk of folks, right? Yes.
I was thinking when you were talking about Portersville, I don't know if you knew, there's the trail that goes from like this region across the North Country Trail. I don't know if you want to stay close to the highways, but you might check it out, perhaps go call, look it up on the internet.
Well,
it's
from
quite a long trail. It's like the Appalachian Trail, but
okay.
that goes across the north.
Do you know the name of the trail?
It's called the North Country.
The North Country. Do you want to check it out?
You might like that.
I know when we left Butler towards New York, we took that trails to trails, which was very nice.
Like to Parker or Herman.
But it only lasted about 2 or 3 hours at the most.
The North Country Trail is like 2,700 miles long.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We can visit
It
it.
goes around like
We
through
can-
Michigan.
Okay.
Like, you can do parts that are stretched. You wanted to.
I think that's something to, what happens is that you get a little bit tired, nauseous of the traffic going by, and sometimes you don't get the attention that maybe you want, and you just want to break and get away from the noise, and sometimes you want to make a phone call, and you can't make any call. By the way, I do carry a phone. I'm not totally organic about everything I do. I have some responsibilities that I have to keep up with. But yeah, thanks for that hint. That's really good.
Where will you start from tomorrow?
Well, we're just near Portersville. We haven't quite entered into it.
A few miles outside of Portersville.
Yeah,
You
and
can
then
probably pick up the North Country Trail there. I'm not so sure.
okay.
If it's okay, I might come out and walk with you tomorrow. If that's okay.
We could certainly talk about it. Yeah, we could certainly figure something out. Yeah, we could do something out. Like we like to leapfrog a little bit. Like we haven't really been able to do that just yet. But leapfrog means that you drive ahead, you park, walk to where I am, and then something like that. We could do that sort of thing. Yeah.
If it's not an inconvenience.
I don't think it would be. You just have to drive up to where we are. And then you'll have to drive and get her to her vehicle, if it's still there. Anything else?
I was just gonna, if we could chant and you could just say
Okay.
a little bit about the holy name, and then we could
Okay.
chant, because I know some people already hear the holy name.
Well, I was raised as a Christian person, and I heard different phrases that still stay with me. And I don't think they haven't really left me, because it's all cohesive to the message of the Vedas, the very ancient text from India. So I remember one particular phrase. In the beginning it was the Word, and the Word was with God. So in the beginning of the world there was sound, right? We have those kind of similar statements in the Vedas. But what sound? Was it hip hop? No. It was something of a transcendental vibration, something that stirred you, something that moved you from within, from the inner, deeper recesses of the heart. And so some people with incredible integrity have maintained this practice of what's called kirtan, where you use your upper and lower lips as well as the tongue, and you somehow or other affect your heart with mantra power. So mantra means it's a combination of 2 words in Sanskrit. Mana, which means the mind, and tra comes from trayate. That means to free the mind. Right now, when you open yourself to your mind, you'll find that it's going all over the place. It's very skittish, and it's really all over the universe. So we find that peace comes from taming it, taming the mind. Calm, go on simmer here, And yeah, it's very cute. Everybody can observe that the mind is like a monkey. It's all over the place, from one branch to another. And it's leaping, it's swinging around, and it's scoofing off. And I know that if you go to a zoo, that's probably the most popular, like exhibit of all. It's the monkeys, because we are so much like them, or they are so much like us, And we marvel at them, because they can be highly intelligent. There's one particular zoo in Europe that was reported. There were these, I think it was maybe chimpanzees. They had stalked some stones from the night before in their, their area of restriction. And when the first people came and the doors just opened, they took these and hurled them out at the people that were coming, the tourists. And so it means that they were, it was all premeditated upon. It wasn't like an immediate response, like defense-wise. It was all like thought, pre-thought, And so you can see there's incredible intelligence there. There's this one group of monkeys. I was reading about National Geographic some time back, and the female monkeys, they take these sticks and they chew them to a point, and then they climb into a tree and poke into the hole to get these what they call bush babies, like little squirrels, and then they pull them out. The male monkeys were known to just go in and just grab. But it just shows some intelligence there, premeditated. Make your weapons, and so it's extraordinary. So the mind can be very tricky. It may show a semblance of intelligence, but in the end, it's the kind of, when you get led into the whole mechanism, the mechanics of the mind, it can really get you into trouble. So it's mischievous. The mind is mischievous in general. The Vedas also talk, our ancient books, they talk about, there's the buddhi, the intelligence, and it's distinct from the mind. The mind is mischievous. The buddhi, the intelligence or the brain power, is there to put things in order. When it comes to mischievousness, it has a lot to do with what's there for my immediate gratification. When it comes to the brain power that we tap into, what's good for my ultimate benefit, right? So the way that we can analyze the way we live in the world, oftentimes we think more in terms of what's there for my immediate gratification, as opposed to long term. Better to go long term. One of my favorite verses from Bhagavad Gita is that which in the beginning is like nectar generally turns into poison, and that which in the beginning is like poison, as in fasting or doing some things that are slightly on the austere side, where you voluntarily take on some inconvenience, turn out to be really nectar, like second, hey, I like this is good for me. So those are some things to think about. So let's get into the chanting. Chanting is to get us off the monkey platform.
Samsara dhavanandalira lokam Lanaya karina ghana ghanatyam Sapta sakalana gunarnavasya Vande Gurasri charanara vindam